All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and jump into the review of these trades here that was made today. Man, today was a good day. It's September 15th. It's actually my mom's birthday. Got to give her a call when I'm done doing this video. Wish her a happy birthday. But yeah, I mean, today is a great day coming off of that big loss in the market yesterday. I mean, green for me, but I mean, because I didn't trade, but for the market overall, today was a really good day. And you can kind of tell by the trades that was made today, along with you know, what happened throughout the market. Okay, so I'm gonna pretty much go over IRNT, which was the first trade I did today in pre-market, and INDP. Man, guys, today was freaking awesome. If you traded either one of those two stocks today, do me a favor, comment in this video and just kind of post what kind of gains you had, or just kind of like your entry and exit. You don't got to put like how many shares you want. Just kind of touch on your trade. I'm just curious to see how many of you guys actually was in that trade, especially based off that alert. But let's go ahead and jump into the first one here. INDP was the second trade, so we're gonna go into IRNT, which was the first one in pre-market. It's still after hours, and guys, this thing is still freaking running. I'm mad at myself for not getting in this one after hours. It's up like 20 something percent now. Um, let's take a look at it here real quick. Look at this. Look, right out the man. This is crazy. Wasn't this on the watch list too? The swing trade watch list? I think it was. I don't know. We'll go back and look at it. But anyways, look at where we're at now. Um, again, it's after hours, so you kind of see what it's doing right now. This crazy move here. It's at like 42 bucks, I think. We was alerted about this bad boy pre-market way back here. And this is pretty much where I made my little tiny gain. Oh man, this is where I got in my little what 7%. I got in like 26 bucks. Um, but I think IRNT was like one of the first alerts today. Let me see here if I can pull up the alerts. It was a lot of good news and good things happening today. So yeah, let's take a look here. Let me pull this up here. Trying to get it so you guys can see it. There we go. All right. So yeah, IRNT was pretty much listed right there. Was the first time. Oh, it was on the watch list. Look at that. And see this one right here, guys. Pretty much, I had said, 22 results was announced. I didn't even read the results, but they must have been good based on the way the chart was. And we figured from yesterday, I mean, that it was going to carry in momentum, and just look for levels of support. And really, that's what this segment of the workshop is going to be based on: news catalysts and support and resistance. Okay, so this is kind of like a good actual real time happening example for you guys, um, to kind of get an idea of. Okay, so let's just close this out and take a look at this chart right now. All right, meow. All right, now for me, I pretty much just kind of waited for that dip, and then I got in and rode this thing up to pretty much 6% and got out like right before it started to turn. This one was a quick, pre-market trade for me, riding the wave. Level two looked good on it. I just got in and got out. I didn't want to overstay my welcome. I wasn't too sure because if you see here, this is looking like a previous level of support. I wasn't too sure on the turn down if it would hold that level or not. So I took my profits there and just stayed out of the trade, just because I wasn't sure. But I knew at least this part I can at least capture some gain on. And it was pre-market, wasn't based on yesterday and how it ended. I wasn't too sure how the market would play out, so I just did. I'd rather be safe than sorry in my trade, and I wasn't upset with that. I mean, FOMO's hit me right now because I'm like, man, what if I would have stayed in at 26? It's at like 42 now. That's another 50% gain I could have got. But it's all good. Green is green, baby. You know how I go. So, anyways, got in, got out, quick little trade. It turned down and it stayed flat, which was, I probably should have paid attention more to that. That it stayed that way. But I think my eyes kind of fell off of it once it broke down right here with the EMA and the VWAP cross, and it started to go into bearish territory. Obviously, at that point, I'm not really caring about it no more, and I turned my attention elsewhere. I think we were all just kind of happy to be back in a good trade with the other trades that were placed out today, all those good IPOs that was launched, and INDP running the way it did, hitting over 200%. Yeah, so that was pretty much the trade on this one. Now then it came and hit after hours, and we were alerted after hours, and we're probably still getting alerted after hours. But see, it's pulling back now a little bit, but that's normal because look, the moving average convergence divergence is turning. Excuse me. And the RSI is dropping. It's got to pull back a little bit. So, but yeah, we were alerted immediately after hours. Let me pull this down as it comes through. Pretty much after hours, you could pretty much tell it was just like MD. The only ones that's really moving right now after hours is MDVL, I think is what it is. Yeah, and IRNT. MDVL had this little news here. Um, IRNT, I don't think had any news, but I mean, if you did get in it, kudos to you. Again, secure those profits, like we tell you guys. Lock them things in, man. Don't be greedy. Um, you know, greed to punish you in this realm. So don't do that. But yeah, MDVL, IRNT, pretty much the things that's moving. You've been alerted. I don't know what else to tell you, but man, congrats to you guys if you're in there. Let's take a look at this on level 2, area 2. So you see here, it's kind of a wall at $40 level, which I kind of expect. What you guys should also know, odd even numbers are usually a good indicator of levels of support and resistance. For some reason, traders just like even numbers like $40, $40.50, $5. Every now and then, you'll see levels of support and resistance in those areas. Whole and half dollar marks. You'll hear a lot of traders talk about that. So that's something to consider when you're trading too. With the moving average convergence divergence turning down right here, it's normal to see the level 2 on the sell side be more than the buy side. But you still want to keep an eye on, strong areas of support and resistance. Okay. Um, Maybe I'll give it a few minutes and we can kind of take a look at how this plays out. But kind of keep in mind that $40 level right there um, as an area of resistance. Whether you're in a trade or out of trade, you need to know that as a trader. Okay. Um, because when you execute your trades, depending on what you're doing, it's going to be, you know, something you want to look for. So, for example, if you were trying to short this stock right now, $40 is a resistance level. You, as a bearish trader, will want to watch to see if that $40 level breaks. Because if that's going to break, then you might get squeezed out, and the stock might keep rising. So that will be kind of reverse of a level of support for you. For bears, they need the resistance to be there and hold there. You don't want the stock to go past that because the more this stock drops, the better it is for you because you're getting the difference. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and look at old videos. Okay, learn what bull and bearish trading is. All right, learn what shorting and longing is. Okay, but anyways, that's how you would want to look at that. Now, as this begins to let up and the moving average convergence divergence begins to turn, we should start to see more green tape coming in and those orders getting executed, and that helps you see the strength of the stock and how it might go up. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that, but when it comes to that, you want to look at any other levels of support and resistance. Right now, since it's after hours, it's moving a little bit slow. Probably you want to kind of utilize this area as another level of support, but nothing's really formed yet. It's still you know it's still breaking out and establishing a new level of support if it's going to be there. Okay, so you got to understand that. And until then, you can probably use this, but more than likely, you didn't get in right here. More than likely, you might have got in right here, right here, right here. You might have got in after the alert, trying to be safe. Now, this is the 5-minute chart, okay, not the 1-minute chart. What's happening in here is within here. So within this little green bar right now, this is happening for like the next, few minutes. That's why it's red. Understand that, okay? Um, I'll probably go into more detail with that on the course too. And try to address some of your questions you guys have. But yeah, see, look, it hasn't broken that $40 level mark, but it's also still turning down. So right now, the Bears are going to win this part. Now, this is where a lot of people get psyched out and stuff like that too. Keep that in mind. When you've maybe, let's say if you entered the trade right here, right? Now you're getting worried. This is where, you know, the psychological aspect of trading comes in, guys. And you're, you know, worried like, oh man, I might be losing money or I'm in the red. It's been plenty of times where I enter a trade and I'm in the red at that point because I know I'm not getting out of the trade because I know for a fact that one, it hasn't broke one of my rules, which is, you know, not to jump into bearish territory, which is breaking that VWAP, depending on the strategy that I'm doing. Okay. And then also too, I know that this isn't the all in all because moving average convergence divergence is still red. It's not in the strength. You want to you want to sell into the strength if you're bullish. You know, you don't want to buy. You don't want to sell into the weakness. Um, but you can't be afraid of taking that loss. But if the loss is becoming too great, cut your losses quickly. You just got in at it. You just got in at a bad time, and then just wait for another reentry. You might be out of trades. If so, I mean that's fine. You just kind of learn from that mistake and move on. But hopefully you understand that part. Okay. I know it seems like a lot, but the more you do it, the more you get a hang of it. So now it's starting to establish some more resistance here. 36.75 level. See, another. It's like another quarter level. I mean, these things happen, guys. You know. So, yeah, keep that in mind. But this thing is definitely gone crazy. But that was pretty much my first trade of the day. Was pre-market. Oh, let me kind of retouch on that too because I told you guys on the Facebook group that I was going to kind of go over how this trade went. I actually kind of messed up here on this trade. What happened was during pre-market, it glitched on me. The Weeble, it glitched on me, and I accidentally. The reason why I was a $3,000 gain, I probably contributed to this part. The reason why it was such a big gain for me was because of the fact that I had accidentally executed three 500 share orders, and I was like, "What the heck?" Luckily, it kept riding up, which is another reason why I wanted to get out quickly because I'm like, man, that's not a good way for me to start the day. I did not mean to execute the trade that way, but I took my money and ran because, you know, to me personally, that was just a sign that I'm about to mess this stuff up and I don't want to start the day off bad. Let me just get out while I can. So I got in and got out. Yes, guys, you can have the setup and everything be correct, and you can execute horribly. Sometimes that happens. Things can go happen. Just like what last week I was telling you guys how the internet went out on me, um, and you know I lost a couple $100. It happens. That's just something you can't avoid, but you got to be prepared as much as you can. Um, so yeah, that was a happy accident for me. You know, good little 3K there. I was glad that happened and, not going to complain. All right. So that's kind of how that trade went. I did have a plan. I just executed horribly by my mistake. Um, the computer just kind of my mistake. The computer just froze up on me. I wasn't paying attention and I was executing more orders of my hotkeys. Happens, but it's all good. Now, let's go talk about this bad boy here. Are you with me? Are you guys with me on this one? Look at this thing went so crazy. I gotta shrink the freaking map, man. This is ridiculous. So let me try to break this down into an order we can all see it. I wonder if it's worth. It's not really worth pulling up on level 2, uh, because it's not really moving after hours right now. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, so it's so thinned out. It's not really worth me pulling up after hours. But can we talk about this part where this thing went berserk? And I don't know what to tell you guys. I mean, at this point, I know kind of going over this stuff is a little redundant because I only trade one to maybe three strategies, and that's just me. That's just how I profit. Again, this is momentum trading. This is what I do. Some people do gap and go trading. Some people, might do candlestick trade. I mean, everyone has their own different trading strategy. This is just what works for me and my personality and how, I like to trade. So let's go to the very first alert of this thing, which was early because I got in at like $12.50, and I just held this thing and held this thing and held this thing. Now, keep in mind, guys, you always want to let your winners win and lock in those profits. Okay, and it did get news. Look at that. See, sometimes I forget to read the freaking news part of the alerts because I just be so caught up on looking at other stuff. But that does help. I think I should have. I mean, normally what I do when I am in the trade, I might go back and look at the catalyst in more detail while I'm in the trade. But when it's something going like that, I kind of get distracted pretty easily. But yeah, We were alerted with INDP earlier, saying, hey, they allowed, got notice allowance of a strategic patent, and then boom, $10.14. You were told to look at it. The little eyeballs told you to look at it. What do you? I mean, so provided you looked at that at 7:27, 4:27 Pacific time, which is my time, 4:27, way back here, way back here. Yeah, it grinded out. It grinded out. That's fine. I mean, it made it hit. You know what? Let me, because this part here, look at it. I'm wrong. I'm sorry. I just had to zoom out so far because it moved up so much. Let's zoom in. Now again, I trade by the minute, guys. You know this. You don't have to trade by the minute like me. You can trade by 5, 10, 15 minute. It's up to you. Okay. But 4:47, whatever I said it was, we were alerted. This thing was grinding up, grinding up. All right. Even if you want to play the safe route and do the VWAP strategy that I do, let it pull back. And that's like one of the first strategies that I always tell you guys: wait for a pullback, especially with these fast-moving stocks. When I'm done with this, we're gonna touch on a few questions that some of you guys asked, and just kind of, you know, address that too. But let's just finish this up first. First things first, because I got things I got to do too. In a few, it's already like 2 o'clock here. Anyways, so yeah, we were alerted. If you wanted to wait for the pullback, you could have, and you could have seen that it established a new level of support. This green candle is a really good sign if you're a bullish trader, and it was fighting to stay up. Even though the sell indicator was saying that to sell this thing, it was still trying to fight. It was grinding along. It finally broke down, but even when it broke down, it didn't break down too much. There was no strong sell candle, which is a good sign. And then it just continuously maintained its high, but it did. It just failed to break out. Failed to break out. Now keep in mind, guys, this is pre-market. That's why none of this is gonna, look like how it does in the open bell. This is pre-market. Not many brokers are open. Not many people are looking at stuff. People are still, wiping the cold out of their eyes. No one's really paying attention except for some of us who, get up early. All right, and of course, the institutions and whatnot. And then let's look at the alerts. But you got to alert it again. 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 Now, alerts don't mean get into the stock. It means look at it. It's up to you as a trader to determine if this stock is fitting your strategy. Oh, your strategy is only buy low and sell high. Well, good luck with that. It's not a real strategy. I've discussed with you guys how to build a strategy in the course. I'm not gonna go over all that in this video. We'd be here forever. But you need to have one. Point blank period. You have an entry point, an exit point. Know when to take your profits. Know when your losses is. Don't be afraid to execute your trade. I might need to patent that. Don't be afraid to execute your trade. All right, guys. So let's talk about what I did, getting in at that $12.50 mark. Look, listen, $12.50 is when I got in. You, if that's a prime example that you don't need to be the first in none of these trades. And I only did 2 trades today. Why did I pick this stock out of all the other stock? Because there was things that fit my trading strategy that I look for, and setups that I look for that caused me to do that. So again, if you don't have a strategy, if you don't have things that you look for, you're not going to be able to decide what stock you're going to trade. You're going to be all over the place. You don't know which one's going to fit your criteria because you don't have no criteria. Make criteria, guys. Make a strategy. Anyways, $12.50 is when I got in at, right? Pretty simple. Let me zoom in some more. All right. And that was during the breakout. Because remember, pre-market, I was kind of looking at it, but I wasn't paying it too much attention because I was already in the other trade of IRNT, right? So it broke out and I got in. Perfect. This thing for me, I said I'm gonna do the strategy that I need to do. That's the safest for me, which is my um, VMAP strategy. So as long as it's not breaking that volume weighted average price, I can go in and scale in and scale in and scale in, wait for pullback. I mean, this thing just kept running and running. I'm not gonna lie, I was getting afraid because it was running so much. I'm like, man, this pullback is gonna be hard. But this, little dip, if you're a candlestick type strategy trader, you might have, you might have seen this area and decided, okay, yeah, still a good hold. I'm not going to go into why you would have decided that, but these candlesticks here are telling you that, the selling pressure is not that much, and you would have seen it in level two anyways. Okay, but it just kept going and kept going, it kept going. Then it finally began to pull back, and I was like, okay, maybe I should just watch for a level of where I need to, take my profits. But then again, I remembered, hey, this thing could still trend up because it's not breaking volume weighted average price. I wasn't too concerned about the exponential moving average because of the fact that you got to know how that works, guys. That thing, it candles go through that all the time, which is fine. Me personally, I tell you this in like almost every video. My area of getting out is usually here or a little bit below it, based on my level of tolerance and risk to reward. So again, this kept trending up, trending up, trending up, and then guess what? It broke out again. You probably were alerted again. Hey, this thing is at like $22. I was like, oh my god, this thing is just going crazy. So, anyways, um, yeah, pretty much rolled this bad boy up all the way to like $21, I think. Then I finally got out, which was like right in this area, probably where I got out, and I was done for the day. It kept going. I was kind of mad, but hey, it is what it is. And then guess what? It pulled back and it broke view. I mean, it did all this. So let's kind of take a look at this. Let's say I entered in at 1250, right? Which is down here as time went on. Now, even if I wanted to play my VWAP strategy all the way to the end, and it did finally break VWAP, I would have got out at like $18, maybe 17 at the most. And that's still a pretty decent gain from $12.50. But you know me, I'm greedy. I want to sell into that strength. So, but yeah, I mean, this guy's and look at that. It's gone way down now. It's down at like $10. This is exactly why I tell you guys, do not fall in love with these stocks. Stop trying to hold it. Stop trying to be greedy. Get your money and go. What the heck did I just do? Oh, I hit the spy. My bad. My bad. My bad. But yeah, back to what I was saying. Don't be greedy. Do not fall in love with these stocks. Get your money and go. Okay? Um, so that's pretty much my two trades for today. All right. Let me kind of jump into these questions here real quick, and then I'll go over um, all that you guys asked. I think a few of you guys asked me a few questions today, and hopefully this will answer a lot of you guys' questions. All right. Let's take a look at IRNT. Let's see how that thing. While I'm addressing these questions, we'll see how this is playing out a little bit. Look at that. That level of resistance is still there. 5,000 shares has to get knocked out. Look how many buy orders there's. Not, I mean, compared to that, it's gonna be there for a while. And look, super trend is telling you that it's downtrending. It's gonna stay that way probably for a while. So probably more than likely, what's gonna happen on the next move up of the moving average convergence divergence right here, it's not gonna probably pass that $40 mark. So if you're a bear trader, that might be a good, when the moving average convergence divergence begins to turn and it tries to break up, might be a good point for you to probably try to enter to short the stock or put puts on it if you're options trader or whatever. But yeah, so uh, questions. Yeah, let me go through these quick questions here for you guys. I'll start off with Ashley's question. She said, what did she say? Oh, how much weight does the news play on deciding when to get in a trade? Well, I mean, that's going to be up to you. So for me, it's like one of maybe 4 or 5 things that I look at when I'm deciding what stock to play. So catalysts are important, guys, and in this section of the workshop, I'm going to go over like levels of support and resistance, but I'm also going to touch on news as well too. So catalysts are important because they help determine what the market may overall think of the actual stock and its perception of the stock, which can cause it to go up and go down, have investors come in, or have sellers come in and get rid of their shares and things like that. So yes, I really do consider the news that comes out, because the news can be like, for example, with today, that was, the signature patent. I mean, that's pretty good news, I would assume. I mean, look how the market reacted to it. But let's say if there was something like, oh, there's a mixed shelf offering, or some bad news came out, like, Tesla was in a car crash or something like that, that's going to cause the stock to probably drop, because investors are going to want to sell their shares because they think it's going to have negative sentiment on the market to it. Obviously, when new shares of IPOs are issued out, that's, a bad sign for companies, because that means that they're hurting for financing. Hey, Eric, where did you learn all that stuff? Guess what, guys? I read books. Well, more specifically, things like books like How to Day Trade for a Living with Andrew Aziz. He kind of, talks about that, how, IPOs, or not IPOs, but mixed shelf offerings are bad for you. I used to think that they were good. I'm like, oh, okay, they're offering stock. That means they want to draw investors in, which means that they're doing really good, right? No, that does not mean that. That means that they're hurting for financing. They need to raise money. They need to raise capital. Ah, did you learn something today? Probably, huh? So anytime you see an alert come through that says so and so is filing for mixed shelf offering, or so and so is issuing shares of IPO, or issuing shares, you might want to go ahead and start, thinking about selling that bad boy. That's what a lot of struggle was with that controversy with like AMC and their CEO, wanting to issue out more shares for the company. People were like, why? And then of course that causes it to drop for a little bit. Then the ape stepped in and helped out. But yeah, so that's just something to kind of consider. So actually, yeah, news catalysts is just one of the check boxes that I look for when a stock, when I'm deciding whether or not I'm going to trade a stock. I would say probably about maybe 20 to 30% of me deciding whether or not to trade it, because some stocks can move just off of volume alone, off of no news. I've seen it, and for God knows what reason, it happens. But for me, when it does happen, I'm a little bit more cautious with my trade if I'm going to enter it. Doesn't necessarily mean I will or won't. It just, you know, helps me feel more confident about the trade when I do trade it. Okay. So I hope that answers your question. And you can adjust that to however you might want to trade in your trading strategy. Your trading strategy may not require a catalyst. That happens sometimes. Okay. Just because I do it this way doesn't mean you have to. All right. Every trader is different. Remember that. Let me address. Oh, Greg, I know you did have a question too, buddy. Let me kind of touch on that. So you were saying that you were kind of having issues with deciding which stock to trade and kind of put everything in the course together. Um, and I think you said you haven't finished the whole course. I mean, that's fine. What you still want to do, I mean, in the meantime, while you're taking the course, it's good to try to paper trade and track and practice. Um, what I suggest, Greg, as far as deciding what stock to trade, that will be determined based on your trading strategy. And the reason why I have the course like kind of put together the way it is because I know you haven't gone through all of it, but with the curriculum, you want to make sure that when you're doing it, when you're going in order, learning that stuff in order, as you're going along, kind of like focusing on each part. If you're at the part to where you're learning technical analysis, you're learning your indicators, and learning how that works. Once you get through learning on that, how that works, and studying psychology, I think it's like 112, and it talks about back testing strategies. I believe 110 is before that, where it talks about trading strategies, intro into trading strategies. So yeah, so Greg, take a look at 110 in the section of the course, and I show you how to build your own strategy. And then I also have links to examples of different strategies that are good, that are already established, that that gives you like the win percentages. It's a link to like all those videos to be able to review different strategies and different win percentages, and try some of those out. Now when I say try those out, don't try those out with real money, try those out with paper money. Okay, paper trade them, see how well you do. Now let's say you have a strategy, right? You're like, hey, I think I like this strategy the best. I feel like I'm comfortable with this one. I want to trade this one. All right, great. So now you have your strategy, right? Now you got to decide what stocks you want to trade from the alerts, okay? Because remember, the alerts cater to all types of traders, bullish traders and bearish traders. The only reason why you need to know your strategy is because you're going to know when to, get into your trade, or if that trade is going to fit you. Now, I think I did do a little bit of the things that I look for in my trades. let me see here what lesson that might have been. I believe it was putting it all together, which was like 120. Um, I had, let me see here. I think it was the first video where it talks about putting it all together, and I recapped a few trades of winning trades and losing trades, and show you what I look for. Let me see here. And I did like a real-time pre-market example, recording my screen for you guys in there. If not, I'll do another video and put it in the course for you. But based on your trading strategy, you should be able to decide what indicators you want to use and what to look for in the stock. Now, for me, I trade fast. I don't like to I don't like to be into the trade for a long time. So what do you think I need to look for? Probably should look for things that might cause that to happen, right? So let's say, for example, what would cause a stock to run up pretty fast? A short float. Why? Because there's not many shares being traded, and if a lot of volume is coming in, then that means that stock is going to be moving either up or down. So obviously, when I look for one of my stocks, I'm paying attention to things like the float. Okay. Um, so yeah, I think I did actually touch on this a little bit in the course somewhere. But yeah, so yeah, I'm putting it all together. I'm telling you what I'm looking for things like the float. I'm looking for it to have a good setup. So let me give you an example of things that I don't look for. Let's take a look at let's take a look. We could use a real-time example off the alerts. Okay, so this should help you out, hopefully. Let me. Today's September 15th. Yeah. So let's say an alert comes in, right? Um, it could be something like MITO. Let's take a look at that one. Now, my strategy personally just requires the stock to have a good setup. I need to have volume there because I need traders to actually be trading it, and that's just kind of a base. I need I like to have news. There's a whole bunch of different things that I look for. Mainly for me though, it's volume in the trade. There needs to be a good catalyst for the trade. There needs to be a short amount of shares available to float. And that can range for each person depending on what you think is suitable for you. Some traders like stocks that have volume of 500,000. Some like to have a million. Some like to have 2 million. And then shares float. Some people like to have a 10 million float, a 20 million float, a 30-minute float. Then you got the blue chip stocks like Microsoft, IBM, and all those guys that have millions and millions of shares. And some traders trade off the trend line of that strategy. Um, I mean, I'd be here all day talking about different strategies, but point point being, when trying to decide what alert to trade, you can't decide what alert to trade if you don't have a strategy, because your strategy will determine what stocks you look for, and what you look for in the stock will be determined on what you're going to trade. So let's say if I'm like, hey, I like to trade small cap stocks, a lot of volume. How do I know which one to trade? Okay, I found the stock, right? So let's say MITO kind of has a little bit more shares than I like personally. It has 50 mil. It has 57. It's not too much, but it's not ideal for me. Ideal is like you got a short float and you got news and I'm coming at you. I'm jumping in this trade. I just now at this point I need to wait for a setup. So let me give you an example here, Greg. So let's say MITO went off, right? Let's say it checked all the boxes I look for, maybe statistics. Let's say the volume looks good. I'm looking at these numbers like, okay, the market cap is pretty good. Let's say all this is checking off my box. And now let's say not only did the volume come in, it hit pre-market high. That's another checkbox I look for. Okay, it hit it high. So that's great. Now let's see if there's news. That's even better. But there wasn't no news, so that's now I'm gonna just put probably not get rid of the stock, but just kind of keep it on the back burner and just look at it later on. Because now after it hits a new high, now that it's checked my box as far as me wanting to be able to trade it and look at statistically that I might want to trade it. Now I'm looking for something else. Like I said, there's a whole checklist. And you know what I'll do? I think if it's not already in the course, Greg, I'll write down like a checklist of what I think it is. A checklist of what I look for in order for me to enter in a trade. Let me see if I can find out um, what it what section it is, because I'm pretty sure I have it. I think it's in my strategies. Yeah, in 110, the section with the PDF. Yeah. So I went over mine. It should be the second one, I think. The 7 steps for developing your plan. No, trading strategies. So yeah. So great. Kind of take a look in that section because you need a strategy, man. And your strategy will determine how you're going to look for in a trade. So for example, in a stock that I'm not going to look at, for example, guys, you'll probably never catch me trading something like SNDL, even though it might be alerted. Well, Eric, why wouldn't you trade SNDL? Man, look at this. It's 2 billion shares out. If anyone ever tells you that this thing is going to the moon, they are outside their mind. Okay? 2 billion shares. This thing will stay between 0 to $1 for probably the rest of its trading career. But it's alerted sometimes because you know why? Sometimes it's in a great trend for you to make some good profit. Okay? Me personally, I will never trade this. It just doesn't fit my trading strategy. But for some traders it do. Some traders bank. Like for example, I think the other day you guys were banking on CEI. I ain't touched CEI. I'll never touch CEI. Why? Just because it doesn't fit. Look at it. It's 104 million shares. I can't trade that. This is going to move too slow for me. But even if a lot of volume came in on this thing, I still I still couldn't trade it because it probably won't do my setup. You know, look at there's no setup here for me. I mean, this right here is probably a decent setup. You can make some money off of that part. That's good. I think you guys did that yesterday. I didn't because it's too many shares out for me to kind of pay attention to this. But for some of you guys who are like newer traders, like back in the day, I probably would trade this because the fact that it has so many shares out helps me to be able to, it'll help you to be able to navigate in and out of this trade, especially if there's a lot of volume on it. Now, if there's a lot of shares out and not a lot of volume on it, it's just going to sit there all day. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, you got to read that book, man. You got to read those books. Do the course and read the books. All right. There's something in there that in the courses I'm not touching on that you think I should touch on. Let me know. All right. um, I'll definitely do it. But yeah, this is just kind of an example. How do I know which ones to trade and which ones not to trade? Let's say, for example, like GSKY. I think I did glance at that one because now normally I don't like Green Sky. I mean, it does get alerted every now and then because it moves slowly. But look, has 184 million shares out. Free float is 68 million. That's a little high for me. The news on it was great with the merger with Goldman Sachs, but look, it moved nowhere today. Um, Barely anywhere today. Not much movement. Okay. Um, and you can kind of tell. I mean, look, the market cap here is 2.19 billion, my friend, billion, and only 25 million of that traded. So when it's alerted, okay, great. I'm gonna look at the alert. I'm gonna pull it up. I'm usually gonna look at the statistics. Then I'm going to see if there's a catalyst, which when this one was Goldman Sachs. Okay, that's good to know. Am I going to enter the trade? No. Why? Because I know at this point I'm just alerted. There's no setup. Now that I know that it's there, and it might have some movement due to the catalyst, due to it maybe fitting, my criteria. I still have to wait for a setup. So in my Thinkorswim platform, like I showed you guys in the other workshop, where I have like 9 charts in one, I just have Green Sky pulled up, sitting in the background, and then just waiting to see if it's going to hit the point of my chart setup that I like to see. And if not, just move on. IAPH. Let's take a look at that one. Would I trade this one? Probably not. Why? A lot of shares out there. 441 million. Again, for some traders, this works perfectly fine. If you're a bearish trader, heck yeah, I'd trade this because I'd short the crap out of this thing. Hopefully that's not like, bad and I'll get kicked off YouTube for saying that, but I'm just giving you an example. All right. So yeah, I skipped that trade. Unless I was a bearish trader, man, I would hop in this thing so fast. If I like trading push or something like that, I'd hop in this thing so fast. OCGN, yeah, I'll trade this one just because I know that OCGN does have the ability to run. We've known this to run before. Just the history alone makes me view that, makes me decide that, I would trade this, but I didn't trade this today because you got to keep in mind, history does not indicate the future, but look how many shares, and this one's a very high shares flow too. So you have the checkbox on the fact that it has history. That's another catalyst that I look for. It has history. Today it had good news, but these shares are a lot. In the past, I have traded OCGN, but that doesn't mean I'm going to trade it now because even today, even though the news was good, it didn't make any movement. Why? There was no setup there. Where do you see a setup here? I still got to see a setup. It was sitting on my charts on my, I was looking at it for a little bit in the background today, but it never really did anything that caused me to want to get into it. because I'm not trying to jump into every trade. I need to see it. I need to see a cup and handle, or I need to see a pure breakout with a lot of volume coming in. This only did 15 million in volume. This thing barely moved today, especially relative to how many shares is out. Come on, man. Average volume is 18 million, but you only did 15. You ain't going nowhere. If anything, that news was just to get you hyped, get some traders who don't know what they're doing to get into it, only for the ones who are bag holding to go ahead and dump their shares. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how that works. Um, yeah. So Greg, I hope that answers your question, buddy. If the biggest challenge you have is picking a stock that might run out of all the different alerts, you gotta have a strategy, and in that strategy, you'll know what to look for because you'll know what strategy you trade. All right. If you're having troubles with the strategies, man, like I said, just try them out. Pick ones that work for you. Once you pick the strategy that you like, ask yourself, what does it take for this type of strategy to be done correctly? Do I need to have a lot of volume? Yes, no. If you're a strategy that does trend trading, if you're trading like, I want to do a ABCD chart, all you really need to worry about is trends. Then at that point, you don't really need to worry about the volume. You need to jump into a stock that's trending upwards, and that could be almost any alert. So what can determine that? What helps you determine whether or not it's going to be doing that? Are you waiting for another breakout? I mean, these are questions you need to ask in order to develop yourself a good trade. Okay. um, so yeah, so hopefully that answers that question. I'm just using Mosey as an example. Let's take a look at KABL. Excuse me. I'm trying not to make this too long because I actually got to run here in a moment. Um, take care of some business before the day's over. Yeah. See, news came out, did nothing, did nothing, and you should know not to get in this because there's no setup here. If you're a bullish trader, sorry, bear guys. If you're ideally good at shorting and that's what you do, I'm sorry, I'm not talking to you. You can, you probably have a setup here that you like and you can short it, which is good. To be honest with you, man, especially with these kind of stocks, bearish traders do a lot better, especially out the gate, than bullish traders because it's much easier to short a stock once it's ran up already. It's easy to get alerted that a stock has moved up already once it has moved up already, as opposed to it being down and saying, "Oh, I'm going to go up." It's going to say I'm up and then I'm going up more. That's how the alerts work. So you got levels of support right here. If I was a bearish trader, I'd short this thing all the way down to like 190. You know, that's a whole 50 something dollar, a 50-cent move from 250 to 190, over 50 cents. That's like 60-cent move right there. See what I'm saying? So practicing this much more and more with your strategies and paper trading it will help you understand, okay, I've been statistically good at doing this strategy. This is the one I would try. This is the one I think I like. It was strategies that I traded that I liked that I wasn't statistically good at. Then there's ones that I was statistically good at that I didn't like trading. You got to find that balance, or you might run into the perfect combination. For me, it just happened to be one that I had to create on my own. I had to make my own strategy, guys. But that's what you should do as a trader. I didn't realize that until years down the line that, oh, not everybody's traded the same. I spent all my time trying to copy these other traders when I don't trade nothing like them. I don't think like them. I don't, rationale like them. And that's what I teach you in the course, how to do it on your own. And most importantly, how to fix it. Okay. So that's that there, Greg. I'll hope that answers your questions there. Let me see here. Tim, I think you had a quick question. Let me see if I can find it here real quick. But I'm uncertain about a trade. Do you think I should go ahead and get in or get out? I'm just worried about FOMO hitting me too much. So the kind of thing with that, guys, FOMO, I mean, is just, to me, what I like to tell people is a figment of your imagination. Just like how we had IMPD or whatever the stock was that ran, INDP ran today. We'll probably have another one in a couple of days, a day or two. It happens. I mean, there's no need to rush in these trades. Let the trades come to you. Um, it happens. You know what FOMO kicks in is when you look at a trade, you decide whether or not to do it, and you don't do it, and then it begins to run. Now you're like, man, I should have got in. I should have got in. No, you shouldn't have. You know why? Because you wasn't sure about your strategy. If you were sure about the strategy, you would have got in. And if you were sure about your strategy and you had your risk to reward, management down pat, like I teach you as well too, that you should be doing, then you wouldn't be worried either. You got to be okay with taking your loss. You're not going to win every trade. But if you have your strategy, you know what to look for in your strategy. You know your risk to reward management, what you can tolerate. You enter in the trade. You should be okay with taking that loss because you did everything right, but the trade might still go wrong and you can work on improving it. Okay. Um, so yeah, and then if that doesn't work, move on to the next one, move on to the next one, move on to the next one. If you keep having a losing record, then you know that you're not, you need to change your strategy. Okay. Because your risk to you might need to change, if you once you're in a trade, you might be getting nervous and things like that. If that's the case, you're not letting your trade out. That's a psychological aspect behind it. You need to go ahead and take a step back, lower the amount of shares that you're trading with because you're probably worried about either the money getting lost or you're worried about, the trade just not playing out right. Either way, whichever one it is, if you're worried about the money, you need to scale down on your position. You trading with 100 shares, you need to trade with 50 shares then in that strategy. If you're worried about the strategy, or if you're worried about, the money, what I say, the money being lost, then yeah, you need to scale down your amount of shares that you're trading. If you're worried about the strategy, then you haven't tested that strategy enough. You need to go back and try it again. Okay, that pretty much breaks it down. Hopefully that helps you out there, Tim. So that's pretty much it, guys. All the questions I had for today from everyone. Hopefully this video works out for you, helped you out a little bit. Like I said, guys, go ahead and comment something, at least on this one. I know I usually don't tell you guys to comment or do any of that like and subscribe stuff, but on this one, I kind of want you to, because if you can, just take like 2 seconds. Hey, Eric, I traded this one or I traded that one on the alert. That'll help me out greatly, so I can kind of help the admin gauge, how the alerts are working out for you guys, where we might need to improve. Just kind of give them some results to show them that it is working for traders. I know it's hundreds of us in there in the trading room. Not everybody's trading all the time. And then, there are some traders who are in there who just sometimes don't say a thing just because they're sitting there making money. I was like that in all the chat rooms I was in. I would never, participate or anything like that. But yeah, just, kind of doing that just helps me out a little bit, guys, if you can. So that'll be great. But anyways, in the meantime, I hope this video helped you out. Full disclosure, I'm not going to be doing videos for the next couple of days because, again, I got to head out to Michigan, take care of some business, do some things. But when I do get back here next week, I think next Thursday, we'll be back and rolling with the workshops and stuff. But until then, just take a look at the Facebook group. I'll be posting my stuff in there because I will be trading probably while I'm there, or maybe not because the time zone is going to be different. I don't know. It depends. But I'll be I'll be there. I'll be around. So if you guys still have any questions, feel free to message me and stuff like that. I'll definitely get to you when I can. But just don't expect any videos for the next week in a couple of days. But we'll keep the workshop going. I'll keep more stuff coming until that's done, and then another break. All right. All right, guys. Y'all take care. Stay green. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into this part of the workshop here. We're going to talk about support and resistance and some news catalysts and where to find them. All right. So fun stuff, fun stuff. Psych. But anyways, let's just first start it off with getting news and information as far as the stocks might go. All right. So obviously, many of you are probably utilizing the alerts to get the heads up on what stock might run or what's going on with the stock. But when you do that, how can you get a little bit more in-depth information about what is pertaining to the stock? Where do you go to find this information? Well, we're going to touch on that here a little bit right now. All right. Now, that is going to be some type of news source, press release, some ad, anything that can cause that stock to run. All right. Here are some of the top places that I used to go before, the alert system and pretty much just doing what I do now to find, the stocks that I want to trade, which is basically just the alert system. I don't really use anything else, honestly, guys. But if I want to do more detail, I like either search the article that might be in the press release or go on some of the bigger financial news sites and see if I can find out information about the stock that I'm looking at trading or already trading to see what might be the market, sentiment towards it. So you can kind of write these down if you want. You don't really have to, but I'm just going to touch on the main ones that, most people might look at overall, not just pertaining to, type of stocks that we trade, which is, smaller cap stocks, but just kind of stocks in general. Okay, so you can kind of, cut to this section if you don't need to find out this information, but it might be good for some of you to know. So one of the most popular ones, of course, is Bazinga. More importantly, Bazinga Pro. Like I talked to you guys the other day about, chat rooms and scanners and stuff like that. Bazinga, of course, is another place to go to get, good news information on some stocks that, might have some kind of press release or anything like that out. You could go right there, get news, events, and things like that. Have like the latest of, news on particular companies. So Bazinga is kind of more of an overall, news source for all types of stocks, not just a certain type of stock. And what I mean by that is like pertaining to like maybe just bigger cap stocks. For example, another great place to go to get news about a stock is Yahoo Finance. Another one of the most popular ones I used when starting out. Okay. The only problem is that it might just pertain to bigger you know stocks. Same thing with like CNN or CNBC markets, The Economist, Wall Street Journals, Bloomberg. You're not really going to see too much information about penny stocks in there, or small cap stocks in there, because they're catered towards investors, institutions and things like that, that might trade much more you know, larger cap stocks. Like for example, here, you'll see them talk about, stocks like Microsoft or Apple and things like that. They'll have, political articles, which of course plays into the overall macro aspect of like, trading the SPY, or anything else in the market, or ETF. They'll talk about things like Kathy Woods and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, if you kind of look at today, they'll briefly touch on little things today subtly, like in the side. Like for example, how INRT is running like crazy after hours, how INDP went up. You don't really see no articles headlined about that here, or other places like maybe The Economist, Traders Magazine, et cetera, et cetera. But you will see it on the side here. Sorry, my computer's freezing, probably because I'm doing the screen record, which is causing it to lag as usual. Um, Probably need to just go ahead and take off half of the stuff on my computer that's on there. But anyways, I can't, guys. I'm mine. Sorry. So, anyways, yeah, you'll see like little stuff on the side here, like stock gainers, how Green Sky shot up, INRT shot up. You'll see that stuff there, but INDP, those are like one of the big ones we traded today here on September 15th, 2021. But yet you don't see no main articles put out about them. You would think that they would, especially since like they went over like 200% for INDP and stuff, right? But no, you got to actually go in there, click on the article. But unfortunately, most news sources will be catered to it like that. So what you basically would have to do is when you find out about an alert or look at a stock, you have to go look it up. So let's say if you wanted to go look at INRT, you have to click on it. Oh, they announced the second quarter results. Okay, great. And that was yesterday. So you kind of would do something like that. And again, there's other places like Forbes, Financial Times, CNN Money, other big places that are good news sources to go to, not just Bazinga Pro and Yahoo Finance. I'm just kind of giving you guys those as an example, but those are what I used back in the day when I was starting out. Now, if you kind of be in the game a little bit longer, kind of give you guys a shortcut, instead of having to spend months and almost years like I did, just thinking like, oh, I sign up for an alert service and I can find the news article there. Doesn't always work. What you want to do, is go to places like Business Wire, for example, because as you can see here in this announcement, you know, from Yahoo, they got that information from Business Wire. Other places you can go, which actually was mentioned there on Business Wire, was like, Edgar filings. Those filings got to be put out when, there's a big inside buyer and things like that. That's another catalyst. You'll see sometimes alerts talk about, 22 shares of inside or 22,000 shares of insider buying of stock XYZ. You want to go look at the filings, or so and so company might have filed, another type of filing, something that is talking about diluting shares, whatnot, things like that. You can all go directly to the source, which is the best place to do. Now, Business Wire is really good because they talk about a multitude of stocks, not just big cap stocks like, Yahoo Finance or Wall Street Journal does. They'll talk about smaller cap stocks as well too. You see, they'll talk about, look at this. C, which is IC, we traded the other day. All types of stocks, biotech stocks, things like that. Um, Good source to have is Business Wire. Um, there's plenty of more sources. I'm not going to really mention those because we'll be here all day. Honestly, we literally would be here all day if I mentioned all the news places to get news from. But Business Wire is like one of the top ones. So when you're, trying to find information on the stock, that would be a good place to kind of look and research to see if there's a press release out there. Press releases causes what causes stocks to run, guys, a lot of times. So that's just what you want to look out for is press releases. Now, let's say if you wanted to kind of get a better overall aspect of just kind of having everything all in one, because I'm just going to kind of condense this and make this a lot shorter and just jump straight into where I go to get, news information for you guys to make it much easier. Now, obviously, one route you can do is, going into your broker, for example, like Webull, and they'll have news articles there. You can, pull up a widget. I believe it's under stocks, press releases, boom, news, boom. Pop those two things up. I'll do it for you here just for laughs. And don't forget, oops, sorry, and it'll jump you right to it. Let me close that out, sorry. And just like I was saying the other day, let me close this out. You want to set it as a group so that whenever you're clicking on a stock, now let's say alert comes in, hey, obviously that's the latest IRNT. Let's just say INDP. These are the latest articles that are talking about INDP. And you can just click on them and say, look, marketwatch.com, Bazinga. What did I just tell you? These are good news sources. But the good thing about your broker is 9 times out of 10, they're going to keep them all in one. So you kind of have it in, chronological order there to be able to look at it. These are the press releases for it pertaining to it. The latest one here was in August. This one was just a few hours ago, which could have been potential reason why the stock may have run. Sometimes I keep these type of blocks here as well too, like in the bottom. I mean, see, look, my screen is already like full of a bunch of stuff, which is why a lot of times you'll see traders having multiple computers and multiple monitors just to have this stuff up so they can look at this in one screen and actually execute orders and stuff like that and look at charts on the other screen, you know. So that's a good place to get, all your pretty much information and news source. Also in Thinkorswim, in their section on the left hand corner where I said the news information is, that is a good place. Those are pretty much the two main places I go to look at stocks, news. So the way it kind of works there, the alerts, will go off that a stock is moving, and then I'll go look. I'll look on the side, or I'll pull the stock up here. I'll be like, oh my god, let's say OCGN just went off. Oh, OC, Orange County. Let's. Oh, an alert went off for OCG and it just spiked up. What happened? Let's see. Is there any news? No. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, that's kind of one thing to check off my list of a reason why I might want to get in this trade. If I don't see it here, I'm gonna go directly to. I'm gonna go to Thinkorswim to see if they found something on the press release that may have came out. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can pull it up here to kind of give you an example. It might not open up since it's on the other screen. Actually, yeah, it is. I guess running slow, of course. Let me type in my old account, see if that'll let me in. Just to kind of give you guys an example. Man, it's kind of working slow. Well, anyways, guys. Yeah, so I'll go there. Look, it's gonna take forever to load up. I will go into Thinkorswim, and if it's not on Thinkorswim, what I'll do is typically um, go to probably like another news source. Just kind of scouring around, looking at different sources, Yahoo Finance, Bazinga, or let's say, for example, one of my favorites, and this is a little gem for you guys here. The alert goes off. I'll pull up the broker or I'll pull up the ticker's name with StockTwits. Just pop that out of here real quick. Because another little nugget for you guys here. A lot of times StockTwits will have the news article there too, right there. That's the latest news about it. So that's a little nugget for you guys. Um, I know a lot of times alerts won't pop up with what the news article was or the catalyst was, or it might just do it a little bit delayed. But if you want to go look at it on your own, you can from there, because you got to remember the alert system is doing like a lot of different things at once, and pulling from a lot of different sources and stuff like that. And some of them are not always updated right away. Now there's another source that's much faster than that, because not all the time will Webull get it right away. Not all the time will Thinkorswim get it right away. Not all the time will StockTwits get it right away. The article or whatever the catalyst may be might be out somewhere. You just got to go find it if there is one. Sometimes there's no news. You'll see there's no news. That doesn't mean that there is no news. It's none found yet about it, especially in the alert system. So let me kind of give you an example. Let's see if there was one in here today. September 15th. Obviously, with INDP, that news came out right away. And if you wanted to, you can just look that news up right away on your own and see where the source came from. OPGN. So yeah, this news came out. But a lot of times the stock will move first and then the news will come out. Or it could be vice versa, but a lot of times that's what happens. Stock will move first. And then, there could be some stocks where it says, hey, it's moving, but there's no news. I think there was at least one of them here today. And so stocks like that, I might trade a little bit lighter because there's no news about it. Why is it moving? Am I about to be trapped in a trade? Are they trying to catch me bag holding? I don't want to deal with that. Yeah, so there's pretty much that aspect to consider as well too. Yeah, right here, look at that. SGOC volume increase to $6.33 on no news, but it is a big mover. It's known to do that. So yeah, look, SCU, no news. But then I think later on some news came out about FCU, right? Maybe, I don't know, can't remember. It did great. Not oh well, but it happens sometimes. So yeah, that just kind of give you guys a little example on alerts. So yeah, so that's pretty much how news would work. Now let's go in and touch about support and resistance. All right. Let me close this out. Let me close this out. All right. Support and resistance. Let's take a look at what stock. Should we look at something that moved today? So I can give you guys an example of support and resistance. I won't touch on the ones that moved today. Well, let's look at these little IPOs that was out here. Should we do that? Let's take a look at Dice. That was a good mover. There was another one that was a good mover. Which one did Ricardo mention? Oh, that one did good as well too. Some of these IPOs were moving like crazy today. And obviously we didn't alert those because those are higher price stocks and they're IPOs, but doesn't mean you can't trade them just because they're not alerted, guys. I mean, someone in the chat room is mentioning it. Might be worth a look. Bros, yeah, we'll look at that one too. So obviously, for example, with these are IPOs. There's no past support resistance you can look at to kind of gauge off this. This is why trading IPOs is a little bit more riskier, because you have nowhere to tell where support and resistance is, where it's going to be. The best thing you can do is kind of go off of the previous trades made from present time. For example, like here, let's say you were looking at this. Obviously, this is a setup here. You're kind of looking at this one being in a range between $29 to $34. Not bad for an IPO, and that's just based off the run. So clearly, it's trading within that channel, trading within that channel, trading within that channel. You got your wicks you want to look at and consider. Why is support and resistance important, guys? Because this is going to help you gauge your risk to reward ratio. Now, you don't need to do it on a minute by minute time frame. The more you do it, the quicker you'll become, and you might want to start doing it like that. But if you're trading on like a 5-minute time frame or a 10-minute time frame, you have enough time to be able to find levels of support and resistance and kind of map out where you think that would be. Like, for example, I switched it to 5-minute here. Let's say you're a 5-minute trader. And let's do this in real time. If it'll let me. Let's hit play. Let's say it's alerted, right? Now you're gauging that, you're gauging that. Obviously this is quicker than real time because 5 minutes doesn't move this quick. But, you know, stock's opened up, it's making its move, it's making its move. You're not in it yet because there's no setup there. It hasn't really done anything. Speed it up a little bit here for you guys so this video isn't too long. So what is this kind of telling you? It's trending upwards, you can tell so far. That's good if you're a bullish trader. Now, is it possible that it's going to reach that point? Sorry, just let go of that, press play. If it'll play. Probably won't because I'm in a little drawing mode. But you can map out your stuff so far from here. However you want to do it. If you want to trade within that channel, that's fine. Let me scroll up, make this a little bit tighter. Oh, sorry. Actually, with it being 5 minutes, it's at the end of the day, it's done. That's why. So yeah, let's going forward from this. You can probably see, is this going to rise? Is this going to fall? This candle here might indicate that that might be a level area of resistance. But then at that point too, you want to look at the level 2, maybe possibly on Weibo. Let's do that and see if there is a big level of support there, or I'm sorry, level of resistance there. Not really a big level of resistance. And again, this is, it's still after hours. The market's not fully closed. After hours symbol is just the volumes died. It's not, there's no order being executed between that. Look at that. That's a whole $3 spread. Of course, there's no orders being executed. But yeah, so that looks like an area of resistance. We'll see how it plays out tomorrow. But just to kind of give you guys an idea of support and resistance and why it's important, you want to, kind of keep that in mind when trading. Okay, because you can set, your entry point maybe right there in that area, 35. You might want to get out at 40 for a $5 move. Keep in mind it's only, trended right there. Let's go back to the 1-minute chart. Could you have done the same thing? Possibly, yeah. Look at that. It's still at this point. Now here it broke your channel, then it came right back up. Again, depending on when your level of entry and exit is. Let's take a look at, let me get rid of these and clear this out. I don't want this here when it comes back to this chart, if I ever do. Which I doubt because it's so high priced. Let's take a look at bros. All right, my bro. Another IPO. Trending upward. Now, depending on where you could have drew your line at the point, now I see several different places where you could have drew trend lines. Depending on, again, your time frame of trading. That's why having that in your strategy is important. Knowing when you're going to trade, your time frame of trading. This could have been a good channel for you. Well, actually, this thing would have been broke out because it would have been like right about there. It broke it several times. And then you could have did it like this. Let's just say this right here would have been a level of support. Still kind of trending up. Broke it right there. Look at that. It broke right. That's where it collapsed, and started going into bearish territory. I'm just giving you guys some examples of, different lines that you could be using for levels of support and resistance. So clearly here, this is showing you that there's a resistance level at the $40 mark. Let's take a look at bros on level 2. My bro. Bros. Now keep in mind too that some of the tickers that you might be looking at might not show up on, your broker. the tickers might not show up in your broker. Not all brokers have the same stocks. See that? Level 2, $42. What does the chart show you? $42 is a big level of resistance. I don't want to get ahead of myself because we're talking about support and resistance, but you guys, level 2 will determine how your chart is going to play up. That's why you should be looking at this first, then your chart second. But let the chart give you a setup. Now, what I would be thinking here, if I'm a bullish trader, I would wait personally until it broke $42 again. But at this point, you could be a bearish trader, enter in, your next exit level might want to be here at this level of resistance or this level of support. Might be a little bit before it would be your exit point. Okay? So support and resistance is very important and will help you determine entry and exit and measuring your risk to reward. Because if I'm going to trade this stock, it's a $42 stock or a $40 stock. Am I okay with trading one share and having a $10 risk to reward? Am I okay with trading 2, 3, 4, 5? See, you think about that. The more that goes up, the more pressure you feel because it's more money you're trading with. So get to a level to where you're comfortable with. I'm not going to trade a $40 stock the same way I'm going to trade a $4 stock. I might get a little bit more aggressive with the $4 stock because of my account size. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind, guys. Support and resistance help determine your risk management. All right. And it also helps you be able to strategize as far as how you're going to trade the stock, where you're going to enter, and when you're going to exit. It has dual roles: risk management and strategizing. All right. So that's pretty much it for this kind of workshop. Practice that as much as you can. I go in more detail with it. Um, I'll probably try to start incorporating that more in the reviews and stuff like that to help you guys out. For those of you who do trade off of that heavily. When I first started out, all I did was focus on support and resistance. I honestly thought that was the way that you're supposed to trade because so many trading gurus go over that so much, you know. But you got to understand that support and resistance is not all in all. It's just a guide. The support and resistance level can change, and that will be based on what? Level 2 and how those orders come in and come out. So that's why you want to be learning to study those orders getting executed and how that looks. So you can determine whether or not you're going to stay in a trade, stay out of trade, and also determine is it in the process of, moving down on the moving average convergence divergence or if it's moving up. Because a lot of things can give you false signals. If you just rely on one, if you rely just on one thing, you're gonna always get false reads. It happens all the time. If I just relied on level 2, I probably exit out early so much. If I just relied on support and resistance, like I used to, I probably would be a loser trader like I used to be. And then if I relied just on one indicator like relative strength index, I'd miss so many trades. If I relied just on moving average convergence divergence, I'd get stopped out so easily. So with so many things you want to look at, I combine all these things in together to formulate my strategy and determine how my trade is going to execute. Yes, it's a lot. I know. I understand. It's overwhelming. But again, this is the way the market is. This is how you day trade. I promise you, if you go, you know, play basketball and you're trying to learn from like LeBron James or Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, RIP Kobe, um, you're them going just over how to shoot a shot will probably be so overwhelming to you it would make no sense. But you got to remember, you also got to learn how to dribble. You got to learn the calls. You got to learn how to pass. You got to learn the playbook. That's how professionals do it. Same thing if you were to work with like a mechanic and they're trying to show you a certain part of engine. You got to keep this in mind. You got to keep that in mind. Keep this in mind and keep that in mind when doing all this stuff. Okay. Um, Same thing with anything else. I mean, probably at your own job, it's the same way. If you have one, it's not just cookie cutter guy. Because if it was, everyone could do this. If it was like this, 95% of traders that try to trade wouldn't fail, but they do. I haven't even gotten into the psychological aspect of all this. This is just support resistance and finding news, okay? But anyways, that's it for this portion of the workshop, guys. Again, if you got any questions, let me know. But until then, comment in this video for you guys for me real quick. Let me know if this kind of helped you out. If it was something else I probably needed to touch on a little bit more in terms of support and resistance, I usually don't care if you comment on the videos, but I wanted to kind of get a little bit of feedback just to kind of see how this might be helping you guys out. If these videos do help you, or if you know don't really need it, it's just a waste of your time. I can stop. We can both stop. I can go do other things. So yeah, keep that in mind. All right, guys, stay tuned for the rest of it. And, let's kill it tomorrow. Hopefully, have another great day. Stay green.